Okay, so I've got the rough shaping done on the foot piece. I'll just quickly show you how I've got that worked out. Basically, we've got the pivot mechanism in there, and it's a triple screw, one there, one there, one there, and that's basically the assembly. So it's pretty straightforward, very similar to what I did with the neck. Goes on there. Okay, so this is just the preliminary sort of tidy up installation to make sure it all goes together properly. Once it's all adjusted, I'll do the proper cleanup, but you can see that that works quite firmly, which is what I'm after, so I can actually lock it into position and it'll actually stay in that position to where I want it to be. So that's actually working quite well. So that'll make the posability of it quite well. And then obviously once it's in position, I only have to really tighten that up, and that'll actually lock that in completely. Or I can have it a little bit looser and it'll freewheel a bit better as well. Okay, so getting ready to do a bulk cast on these toe pieces, and as it turns out, probably those pieces there and the toe tips are about the only ones I'm actually going to solidly not do anything with. I've decided to actually cast them as a solid piece and then cut this piece out to actually fit afterwards. The reason why I've gone for that is because it's already, as you can see there, it's already quite a wide foot. So in terms of staying true to the actual character, but you know, maintaining a certain degree of realism as well, they'll need to be sort of kept to as close to that size as possible before it sort of gets out of control in terms of size. This bit here, where I've modified the new foot piece to where the mounting points are for the toes, I've immediately sort of recognised that these pieces aren't going to go anywhere near fitting the modification I've done. So what I'll probably end up doing is when I cast these, I'll probably leave this on for the sake of casting, but then I'll cut them off and actually put on a custom made piece. These bits also to me seem a little bit long. I may maintain that length, but at the moment it seems overkill for the actual mounting that actually goes on there, and I'll make up a piece like that that'll actually sort of go on there. And you can see what I mean by them being excessively long. I really don't think that they need to be that full length, but I'll have a look at it and see how it goes. But that's essentially what we're talking about in terms of the actual mounting pieces. The underside, as you can see, is a little bit different to accommodate that movement in the ankle, and based on the pictures that I've got here, I'm going to try and keep I don't know what you can see very well there at all, but there's only this one section here which I've actually bridged in with this piece that for the most part I think is going to maintain, you know, complete invisibility when it's actually on the actual piece. The under pistons for the toes underneath, I've got to work out how they actually mount and what sort of slide motion this stuff has, if any. Obviously on these pieces where it's just a static display, there's no room for movement, so I'll probably end up actually making a mock-up of one of these out of wood or something like that, just to get an idea, kind of like I did with the finger when I was doing the hand, just to get a better idea of the actual range of movement and posability for what I'm looking at doing. I don't think there needs to be a hell of a lot of movement in it, but it'd be nice if you can lift a toe and do those sort of things if necessary. Okay, so the lower leg part that we're going to be casting up, I've made up the mock-up piece or the pattern piece for it. I've decided that it's going to be cast in one piece, with the exception of the fact that I need to separate these two halves like I've done before. So I'm going to follow a seam line down here. That'll be done and I'll cast it that way. The piece of pipe that's actually in there is the aluminium pipe, and again I've blocked off that end ready for boring out to actually accommodate where the actual foot is going to attach. that will end up being the same size or the same inside diameter as that piece of pipe that's there. So it will actually mount on, that's probably a little bit big actually, but you get the idea. So that will sort of mount in there. It'll have probably 2 grub screws, one on either side, which will actually lock it into position, and then that will actually give us that range of movement for the foot to sort of get around and do its thing. The other thing that we'll be able to do quite nicely is where the pistons mount on here. I should be able to, I'm not really worried about covering up the screw there, because I actually think it looks quite good sort of thing. It sort of adds to the mechanical sort of build of it. But again, I'm not fussed if it ends up covered up by where the piston mount goes to there as well. So that's it for that one. This one's pretty much, as I said, ready to be cleaned up and ready to cast. So over the next couple of days and weeks, we'll be casting up that one and the toe pieces. Anyway, so that's the update for this time around. That's pretty much where we're up to so far. As I've probably mentioned before, I'm probably about halfway through in terms of the number of pieces that need to be cast. And my plan at this stage is that I think all the pieces will be finished being cast in aluminium by the middle of this year. That's not to say that they'll be polished or finished, but certainly finished, I'd like to think, pretty much up to that stage, or at the very least up to the raw stage and ready for mounting and assembly. Then we can get into the final polishing and finishing of him from there. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.